Spanish tortilla, tortilla de patatas, Spanish omelette, edible egg frisbee. No matter which name you call it, the beauty of this dish lies in its simplicity. All a Spanish omelet is eggs, potatoes, and onions. That's it. Oh, and a little bit of olive oil. Alright, more like a lot of olive oil. But it's fine, because you can reuse it. And like many other delicious cultural egg foods, this one doesn't use many ingredients, but instead relies on its technique. Alright, so first we're going to make the classic version, and then after I'm going to show you how I make a loaded version. Alright, you feel me? Let's go! Here's the lineup. We're going to need 1 medium onion, 3 waxy potatoes, salt, 6 whole eggs, and 2 cups of olive oil. Crack your eggs into a large bowl and set it aside. We need to peel the potatoes. We want to reach for the waxy potato variety for this recipe, aka a potato with more water content and less starch. A typical russet potato wouldn't be the best here. I'm using Yukon Golds. Cut the potatoes down the middle, then again into roughly like 1/8 of an inch or 3mm half rounds. We cut the potatoes this way to make sure that they cook through properly, but also don't like fall apart. The potatoes should all be cut uniform and look a little something like this. With the potatoes sliced and diced, set them aside. Now we're going to cut up an onion. We're going to give our onion a nice rough julienne, which basically means cutting it into strips. Cut the onion in half and then slice down the length of the onion vertically. Your onion should look a little something like this, near the same thickness as you sliced your potatoes. With the bulk of the chopping done, set your veg aside and get things ready for shallow frying. Pour all of the olive oil into a pan with relatively high walls and a heavy bottom. Bring the oil up on high heat. You can test to see if your oil is hot enough by dropping in a little onion. If it bubbles, it's ready. I like to add the onions first to give them a head start cooking. This way they'll get good caramelization and color. If we add the onions at the same time as the potatoes, they wouldn't brown but instead would get sort of like soppy and translucent. After 3 or 4 minutes, dump in the taters. Coat all the veg in olive oil by giving things a quick stir. I like to pat the onions and the taters down to make sure that they're mostly submerged in the oil. Fry the onions and the potatoes on high for 10 to 15 minutes until they look something like this. If you'd like, use a utensil to scrape some of the tasty brown bits off the bottom of the pan. Next, position your bowl of eggs near your cooked onions and your potatoes. We're going to transfer our veg into the eggs. You are probably going to want to use a slotted spoon or something similar so that your egg mixture doesn't turn into an oil mixture. Season up with a bit of kosher salt. And really there's no need to whisk the eggs before adding the veg. I break up the yolks just before mixing. I find that adding everything together, then gently folding things into one another gives the best texture. From here, cover the bowl up with tinfoil. Let it rest for 15 minutes. As the mixture sits, flavors will begin to meld together and everything will sort of begin to thicken up. After 15 minutes, the omelet mixture will look something like this. Nice and gloopy. 2 words that have never been used in the same sentence. Next, add some oil into a non-stick pan. Not too much, maybe like a tablespoon or so. This is just a 10-inch pan, it works really well. We're going to pour in all of our omelet mixture, cook it on high for 1 minute, then reduce the heat to medium and cook for another 3 to 4 minutes. Then we flip. You'll know your omelet's ready when the entire thing moves when you poke at a single part of it, and the sidewalls begin to take on like a golden brown color. Notice how everything jiggles when I touch it. That's proper jiggle. And now it's time for le flip. For le flip, grab a plate that's bigger than the circumference of the pan that you're using. If you don't have a plate large enough, the back of a sheet tray works just fine. Position the plate on top of the pan, apply a bit of pressure to the top, and quickly flop the omelet onto the plate. Slide the omelet back into the pan and allow the second side to cook through. You can touch up the edges once you get things back into the pan, and just look at that focus. And now we run it back and do the exact same thing. Cook the second side of the omelet on high for a minute, then bring it down to medium for another few minutes. You'll know when it's done when it springs back to the touch, slides around easily, and has a golden brown bottom side. And voila, that's a classic Spanish tortilla, or omelet, whatever. Finish with a little crunchy salt and slice away. A proper Spanish omelet will have this cross section that looks sort of like a delicious sedimentary rock chocked full of potatoes and onions or something. He's kind of a cute little guy. So this is sure to piss off any die-hard traditionalists, but now we are going to craft our very own loaded Spanish omelet. I kept to the theme and tried to use all Spanish-inspired ingredients, including shrooms, Spanish olive, Spanish chorizo, and 2 types of Spanish cheeses. Let's talk about the cheese for a second. The first is a young Mahon. It's a cow's milk cheese from Spain that melts like a champ. The second is the more popular manchego. This is a young manchego, which means it melts better than if it were to be aged. As a general rule, younger cheeses melt and pull better than older cheeses. Alright, so since you already know how to make the onion and potato mixture, we'll skip over that step and head directly to the mixing stage. In a large bowl with the potato, onion, and egg, add in the olives, chorizo sausage, crispy mushrooms, and grate in the cheese to taste. It was at this very moment that I learned that young Mahone cheese doesn't grate well on the microplane, but manchego does. I decided to cube up the Mahone instead, which actually worked out pretty well. Like last time, gently fold everything together, cover with foil, and let the mix hang out for 15 minutes or so. And now is an excellent time to strain and store your frying oil. This stuff can be pricey, so don't waste it. Like last time, add your omelet mix to a nonstick pan with a little more olive oil. Cook on high heat for a minute, then medium for a few more. This time around, I'll show you how a sheet tray can work just as well as a plate for flipping the omelet. Apply a little bit of pressure and bada boom. Slide everything back into the pan, that was close, and continue on. Same thing as last time, 1 minute high, 3 minutes medium. Give it a good old-fashioned flipperoni, and we good. Let's cut into this beast. Oh yeah. As you can see, this loaded omelet looks super similar to the traditional version, it just has a little more going on. You can see the crispy mushrooms, olives, and Spanish chorizo here on the side with that beautiful golden brown coloring on the top and bottom. Time for the side-by-side. Just a few scallions over the top because I was out of chives, but scallions are great too. And a couple dollops of homemade aioli, which is pretty much just mayo made from olive oil with garlic and herbs. And that's really it. No need to complicate things here. And it's time to go the heck in. No fork required. Alright, so there you have it, a Spanish tortilla, or omelet, or frisbee. And if you made it to the end here, thanks so much for watching. If you plan to make your own Spanish omelet and or thought this video was entertaining at all, please toss this video a like and subscribe for more. And we'll see you again real soon now. Bye-bye.